What does it mean to be utterly grounded in yourself? To have such great courage and compassion, yet a sense of selflessness? Well, this is where martial arts comes in. There is great philosophy and spirituality in martial arts, and when we go to martial arts, the intention is not just the physical practice of it; it's also the mental development. And I personally have seen this in my martial arts training. I've been training in Iaido for about 3 years now, and I've seen tremendous growth in my confidence, in my courage, and in my ability to be grounded in who I am. And this aspect of fearlessness. I've talked about Fudoshin, which is the immovable mind. This idea that you become unshakable. It's not that you're better than someone else, it's that you become resilient to external circumstances and external situations and people. You don't get upset very quickly, you don't get angry very quickly. You're able to harness that energy within yourself. So, there are many different kinds of martial arts. There's Aikido, like I mentioned, there's karate, there is Kyudo, which is the way of the archer or the way of the bow. There's Kendo, which is a way of sword, and essentially in Kendo you use a bamboo sword, which is called a shinai, and basically your goal here is precision rather than just spamming your attacks. The idea is that as soon as you make contact with your bamboo sword onto the opponent, you get a point. There's Iaido, which is about the way of unsheathing and sheathing the sword. So this is the practice that I'm in right now, and the idea here is that there is fast and slow paces of the technique. And sheathing the sword, as cool as it is, it's kind of like the final punchline in your battle. The idea is that you're sheathing the sword in not a fashionable way, but in a very mindful way. And the whole point of Iaido is to learn to use a sword to cultivate self-discipline rather than harm someone else. And Iaido focuses on this aspect of giving life, not taking life. A lot of people associate swords, especially since Iaido uses this aluminum alloy sword. When they look at a sword, they already consider you to be a hostile or a violent person, but in reality, it's completely different. I mean, we use the sword not to show off, not to be hostile, or not to even. It's not even self-defense. I mean, of course, when the samurai used the katana, of course they were using it for self-defense and political reasons and offense and things like that. But in today's world, Iaido is actually not used for self-defense. It's actually used for self-cultivation. It's improving discipline within yourself. We're not gonna use, this sword is actually bladeless. And you'll see like a little clip of me doing some sword arts right here. And the idea is that you're using the sword to develop a mind of utterly being present. And we call this mushin. Mushin is an empty mind. It's not the fact that there's no thoughts in your mind. You can have thoughts, but the idea is that you're not clinging to any thoughts. You're kind of just so present that you're aware of each and every thought, each and every motion, and essentially you're kind of like water, just flowing through time and space. And this is why sheathing and unsheathing is important, because it's this ability to control fast and slow motion. And sheathing the sword is often a very slow process, and then the cuts are fast to kind of balance the yin and the yang. So, you know, personally, from my training, I've learned the fact that, um, in our life, we're going to deal with stressful situations and we're going to deal with pleasant situations. But in all cases, we have to develop this right attitude of going into the situation with a balanced mind, a clear mind that is not expecting anything, but is fully aware and attentive of what is coming in the process. Um, so, there was a great sword artist called Miyamoto Musashi. He's actually considered a saint. He's a sword saint, and people call him a saint because he started off as a um, people call him a saint because he became a philosopher later down the line. He wrote a couple great books, and he was a brutal killer in his early stages of life. I mean, he was incredibly animalistic. He was abused severely by his father. This guy really went through some very tough times, and so that's why he picked up the sword as a defense mechanism. And myth says that, and I think this is true, but it says that he killed 60 people in a battle single-handedly, which is incredible. I mean, just simultaneously killing 60 people just requires incredible amount of swordsmanship and incredible amount of fearlessness, and he did it. And he was still young at that time. But he became a philosopher later, and he wrote the Book of Five Rings, which is an excellent book for not just sword fighting, but just strategical fighting, kind of like Sun Tzu's book on the art of war. So, I kind of want to talk about his concept of Dokkodo. Dokkodo is a very cool concept, I think, especially in today's world that focuses on communion and following the herd and just following the trending things that are going on social media, or kind of fitting into the society, not really finding your own path. Dokkodo is Miyamoto Musashi's 21 principles of the path of solitude, or the path of loneliness sometimes. I don't like the word loneliness because it has a negative connotation to it. But the idea of solitude is positive in nature because, when you're in solitude, your mind can be cleared easily. Not saying that your mind can be cleared when you're with other people, and or that being with other people is wrong. It's just that it's easier for you to clear your mind when you're alone. This is why monks go in caves or in mountains or near the river, so that they can cultivate this quiet and calm mind. Principles of Dokkodo, there are 21 principles. I'm going to kind of put them right here. They do a really good job of getting to the core of solitude. Solitary aspects of living are important. Like, for example, taking a walk alone, or drinking your tea alone, or meditating for 10 minutes a day. And then you start to build this philosophy of solitude. You say that it doesn't matter if people come with me or not. I will still follow the righteous path. I will still follow these principles that are governed by my heart. And this intuition, this strong intuition that you develop from solitude, actually is God itself. People say God is enshrined within your heart, and the only way to kind of meet, quote unquote, meet him, or to kind of experience him, is to completely be alone. Because when you're alone, you can see what is there without any filters. So the way of the samurai. And they have 7 principles. I'm going to kind of put them right here. And the idea here is that the samurai lives with honor, loyalty, righteousness, compassion, courage, and I have all of them here, but I'm not going to go through all of them. The fact that martial arts is not just about being soft, or not martial arts necessarily, but the path of Buddhism and Zen and spirituality. It's not about being soft, and it's not about being this lovey-dovey meditating monk who never who never gets mad at anyone, and who's always calm, and No, there has to be yin and yang. There has to be softness and hardness sometimes, and at times when injustice increases in life, in the world, you have to take up weapons. And the samurai did just that, and they lived a very honorable life. They thought they were upholding righteousness and protecting their people in Japan when invaders like the Mongol invaders, or later on, even Western invaders came in and bombed them. It was their duty to be loyal to the people that were living there. So, that's kind of the concept of Bushido, and it kind of shapes sword art practice. Um, but I think we should talk more about Budo rather than Bushido, because there are very few samurai today. There are a lot more martial artists, which is referring to the word Budo. Bushido is more so about the samurai. Budo is the way of the martial artist. And, I think if there's one word that summarizes the martial artist, um, that would be courage. It's the courage to go into each moment with no hesitation. And that's the essence of Zen. It's this aspect of having no reservation for the future, no doubt about the past, just being present, no hesitation, each cut with precise motion. Let's talk about the Ronin real quick. I think the Ronin, they kind of wandered in Japan around the 1600s, and they were masterless people. They kind of roamed around begging, and sometimes, they performed different tricks to get money. Some people played the flute, the shakuhachi. Some people, carried a sword in case someone attacked them. Their main goal was to kind of just be this wandering mendicant, kind of just roam around aimlessly. I mean, there was no goal to their life, and that's not a bad thing. But I think it kind of highlights this aspect of Dokkodo. And this idea is that you're alone because you're wandering all your life. I mean, pretty much your whole life. Some good Ronin. So Musashi himself was a Ronin. He kind of wandered around. Um, so, but I think this concept of Ronin can be taken in a positive way. Of course, there's negatives to it because they were very proud people, and they kind of didn't care about society. They were kind of the antisocial people of Japan back then, but some of them were really good, and I think what we can take from them is this aspect of being content with yourself, being completely having no hesitation about your actions and your intentions, because in your heart you're following righteousness. That doesn't mean you are going to be perfect. That doesn't mean you're not going to make mistakes, but you have no regrets in your life. You take the actions, and you have no hesitations in taking the actions. And if you make a mistake, you are not hesitant to accept that mistake, and not hesitant to change the mistake in the future. So, I think that's it for this video. We kind of talked about this concept of Budo, which is the way of martial arts, which allows you to increase courage in yourself. Then we talked about Bushido, which is the way of the samurai, and it involves kind of developing this deep-rooted righteousness and loyalty within you. And then we went over Ronin, who are these wandering mendicants who, they like to be alone, and this concept of Dokkodo, which is Miyamoto Musashi's path of solitude. And I encourage you to kind of spend some time in solitude to kind of see what is it within you that is driving you on a daily basis. I'll catch you guys in the next one.